Hey everyone, I'm trying to get past this lack of lighting in here. It's purple even though I know it looks blue, this shirt. Anyway, I've had this shirt for a long time. Finally found it and there you go. Anyway, this is going to be a little bit different. Before we talked about phrases, this time it is about names. But not the names like you would give everyone, but more like what's in a name for a woman, like when she has to change her name for a guy. Okay, she doesn't have to, but a lot of times we do, right? I mean, obviously, when I got married, the 2 times I did, I was happy to take his last name, so glad about that. I think most people think, is Rebecca Wiles her maiden name? Does she go back to her maiden name? No, I did not. So what is her maiden name? Wouldn't you like to know? No. Wiles was my late husband's last name, and the reason I kept it was because the male came in that name. I had it for the longest time. I had it longer than any other name. Actually, I had it longer than my maiden name. And yeah, it just clings, I guess. Not that my maiden name does not. I mean, I used to hear it all the time when I was growing up and in school and everything. I would always hear, Rebecca. Wait a minute, she's not telling what her name is. It was Thomas. Rebecca Thomas. Rebecca, and I know you're all thinking, what's your middle name? Then you have to tell me your middle name too. No. My middle name is Lynn. Rebecca Lynn Thomas. Now it's theoretically Rebecca Lynn Wiles. But the Wiles guy, he was not mine first. So what was my name before it was Wiles? My oldest son still has it, right? And I think you all know if you watched videos before, he was German, so it was Jahn, which most people always said, Rebecca John, when we were in America. No, it's Jan. Like the J is pronounced like a Y. So it was Jan. I was Rebecca Jan. When I lived in Germany, and I was starting to get into all the really deeply into spiritual stuff, there was this lady who was, she did healing work, like a Reiki type thing, but it supposedly was from angels and it was more a higher rate. I don't know if it's true or not, But we went to her seminars and all, and yes, I had to do it in German, so. And sometimes it was all day, jumping about all day long, trying to catch the little bit of German, Blah, 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 blah. Ah, headache by the time. But she looked, and she was a woman. She didn't necessarily look like a woman, but she was a woman, and she was a nice woman, so I'm not trying to insult her. I guess she's still alive. I would assume so. She was a nurse at one time, but she looks like she'd be a biker. And she did do motorcycles, and she was really, and when I say that, she was not fat. She was just, she was big boned, and she was so, had short hair. I'm not saying necessarily she liked necessarily women or anything. I don't know. But, yeah, she was, And she looked at me and she said, your name should not have been Rebecca. That's not strong enough for you. I thought, okay. What should have my name been? She said, you are more like Daniela. So guess what my name was? From thence on, from my in-laws and everyone else, of course, formally, it was still Rebecca. But when they were just all too, I always heard Daniela. I was Daniela, and don't get me wrong, it's a nice name. I didn't care if anyone called me Daniela, which is sort of like the German way of saying Danielle. It's a nice name. Daniela. Kind of fits. I think I look more like an Amy or a Wendy, but Daniela is fine. I thought it was interesting that she thought that. She said that, that my soul would have preferred something like Daniela, not, But, yeah, just a little bit of a little scope into my names. And should a woman necessarily take on another name when she gets married? Well, I'm not one of these people who say one way or the other. It doesn't matter to me. If a woman, you see these women sometimes who say, I want to keep my maiden name. Keep your maiden name. And to the ones who want to change their name to their husband's name, if I ever got married again, of course I would probably, change it to my husband's last name, because that's usually what's done, and personally it doesn't bother me one bit. I almost became a Dodsworth. For the longest time I imagined Rebecca Dodsworth. But I'm Rebecca Wiles. My poetry is all in Rebecca Wiles. So if you want to look up my poetry, just say Rebecca Wiles poetry. Just saying. Not sure if I have anyone who's really interested in that kind of thing, but yeah. But yeah, Rebecca Lynn, it was Thomas when I was born. Now Rebecca Lynn Wiles. Anyway, I just thought it was an interesting topic. I mean, I always like to go more into names, and before we were talking about the phrases, and I'm still going to do one where I go back in time. I think we stopped last time at about 1920s. Next time will be the early 1900s, maybe 18 and 1700s. I'd even like to go back to medieval time. I think it's interesting to know what words of phraseology did they use. It's not important, but it's interesting. And sometimes maybe a phrase catches on. Just saying. Anyway, I wish everybody a wonderful, really, really wonderful weekend. Have a blast. Over and out. You don't hear blast anymore. Over and out.